Hello everybody and welcome back to another edition of Reading You Reddit. Yes, you probably have noticed I did get a haircut. We don't have to make it a huge deal. I mean, I know it looks, it looks decent, And you can take a pic if you want. I mean, I have no problem with that. Anyway, today on Ask Reddit, we have what industry secret do you know that most people don't? Pack your freight like it's going to get a pallet stacked on top of it because it most likely will. Similarly, don't even bother printing this way up or fragile on your if it's being sent by Royal Mail. It will be dropped, inverted, thrown several times before it even reaches the processing center. It's not even a matter of no one caring, it's just that everywhere is understaffed, overworked, and workflow is geared up for throughput rather than thoroughness. They can't just sack all the wankers and hire more staff because the company is hemorrhaging cash as it is. Yeah, I feel like the same thing happens like everywhere, like UPS. Like these guys just need to get a certain amount of like boxes, packaged and out the door in a certain day that they really don't care what's inside and how important it is to you. It's just like they got to get their job done. And, rightfully so. I mean, they're just there to pack and send it on their way, If you have already Googled your problem, you have already exceeded the first 2 tiers of tech support. Last time I had to contact IT, I gave them a list. The problem, no devices are currently able to access the internet via XXXX_guest Wi-Fi. This is happening to Windows, Android, and iOS, including old connected devices and new. The list is, I've turned Wi-Fi on the devices off and on, I've turned the devices off and on, I've forgotten and relearned the network, I've taken every step on Google that I have the security authorization to take. Them, did you try restarting? How hard do you guys think an IT job is? Is it like, I don't know, I don't work in IT, right? So I'm not gonna assume that it's not a lot of work, but at the same time, are y'all just Googling stuff to how do I fix this problem? And then you report back to them and you're like, oh yeah, throughout my years of expertise, this is what I would do. But really your years of expertise is what you just Googled 15 seconds ago. But I will say it's a great idea to make a list for IT so they already know what you've done and what you haven't done. I'm an unarmed security guard. Every now and then I'll get a comment from someone about how they're glad I'm around in case there's an active shooter or something. Yeah, if that happens, we're not doing anything aside from getting ourselves to safety and calling the cops. We're literally told in training that if we try to intervene directly with an active shooter, we'll be fired. Detect, deter, and report was the slogan at Securitas back in the day. We were frequently told that we were there for insurance purposes and were expected to not take action beyond calling the cops and getting ourselves to safety. Great student job. So you're telling me as a security guard, you're just kind of there, standing around, and then somebody breaks in, you're just like, I'm getting the f out of here. Good luck, you know what I mean? So really you just be sitting there the whole day, that's your job. So like we talked about a second ago with IT being the easiest job, I'm starting to think security guard might be the easiest job. But I mean, look, if you're gonna get fired by intervening, I totally get it, dip out of there. That's what your boss said to do. You gotta listen if you wanna get paid, you know what I mean? You might as well just make the title 911 caller. Your lobster tail at Outback is microwaved. This one hurts me. That sucks. Outback used to be so good. My roommate was a cook there and would tell me how high their standards were. Everything was done in-house, the butter, the bread, the salad dressings, then the franchise was sold and everything changed and you end up with microwaved seafood. Not as bad, but the lobster in your lobster bisque at Red Lobster is microwaved too. So everything's just microwaved nowadays. And you know what? I have worked in multiple restaurants. It's microwaved, dude. It's microwaved. The only thing that wasn't microwaved was pasta, because you have to throw it on the stove and put the sauces together. Other than that, dude, microwaved. But for Outback to be microwaving the lobster tail, I mean, that's a little insane. I feel like if you're getting lobster, if you're paying for lobster, that gotta be cooked the proper way. Many listeners calling into morning radio shows are paid actors, especially in segments like War of the Roses and Second Date Update. It's all fake. You can pretty easily figure this out by the fact that they all sound like they're from California and almost zero of them have accents that match the regional accent where you live. Sports radio shows have callers and they all sound like what you'd expect depending on where you live. That just broke my heart because I remember as a kid going to high school, my brother and I would ride in the same car and we'd listen to the radio. And I remember radio shows kind of like Second Date Update where like somebody would call in and be like, why didn't you plan a second date with them? Like, why did you ghost them? And they were interesting as, but now it makes sense why it's interesting because they're all actors, so they know how to make it interesting. I feel like if you really got real people on the radio show and somebody's like, why didn't we have a second date? You know, I thought it went phenomenal. The guy would just be like, I don't know, bro. I just don't really care. And then he'd just hang up. And then nobody cares about the radio show because it's boring. I make wildlife films for big streamers and broadcasters. The sound is all either library or Foley. I understand it because people are gullible and it adds to the experience, resulting in the monies. But man, hearing an ant lick its chops drives me up a wall. I always hate the bugs sound effect that is always used in documentaries or movies. Who decided bugs sound like that squishy clickety clack? Wait, is there a video where like you can hear an ant licking its chops? Because I need to see that. And like, I wonder how they do that if it's Foley. I think Foley is like where they make the sounds out of like something else. Like a breaking bone, they would take like a piece of plastic and like snap it in half. I'm pretty sure that's what Foley is. So how do you make that? How do you make an ant lick its chops? Like how do you make that sound? Live audio engineer. Sometimes they're faking it. I've had to mic drum sets where the cables went nowhere. I've had to ask a keyboard player if they were having trouble because they were playing, but nothing was coming out of their channel. Don't even get me started on pitch correction, teleprompters, guide tracks, ghost musicians, backing tracks, etc. I knew a guy who worked for a producer who had a metal box with a single button on it. It wasn't a machine of any kind, just a box with a button. Whenever they were pretty much done, but the artist still wasn't satisfied, the producer would say, "Hold on. Press the button, wait a moment, and then play the track again and the artist would be satisfied." If he lied to me, I'm lying to you, but it sounded real to me at the time. So you're telling me the producer's like, yo, hold on. I can fix this. I've got a phenomenal idea. Beep. Check this shit out. Place the same track and then they're like, damn, this gas. That can't be real, right? Like, how do you fall for that? I always believe if you do something really confident, anybody will believe you. Like if I say I just went skydiving this morning, that's a bad example. Nobody would believe that. But I did. Worked with a lot of banks and their IT systems. You wouldn't believe how old and fragile they are. It's a wonder it's not all coming crashing down. The entire international banking system runs on COBOL, a language from the dawn of computing, and it's basically impossible to ever replace. So we're running on the oldest system in the world. These banks, where our money is, and you can't replace it? How is it impossible to replace? I guess because it's just everywhere now, right? Like every bank uses it. So it's like, how are you gonna completely convert every bank? Well, I'll see you guys on the streets this decade probably. So make sure to say hello. The New York Times bestseller list has a lot of people on it who buy massive numbers of their own books. Apparently there's a symbol that indicates that while it did make the bestseller status, there was a bulk buy, a footnote if you will, or similar to an asterisk. Lance Armstrong's charity used to buy his book in bulk to give out to events, so people donated to his charity. The charity then used the donations to buy his book. Lance got royalties for the book sale. Bruh, that takes balls to pull off. Yeah, no kidding. Wait, so you're telling me Lance Armstrong's charity used to buy his book in bulk, give it out to events, people would then donate to his charity, the charity then used donations to buy his book. Dang, what? So Lance is just using all the donations for himself, really. Wow, it's not a good guy. Google sucks so much now because around a decade ago, they abandoned the measurement known as page utility, which just measured the usefulness of the site itself. Instead, they migrated to expertise, authority, trust. which had good intentions of stopping the proliferation of bad info, but instead it basically resulted in prioritizing large corporations and capital over any sites created by average people. The contract workers known as raters they employed to help determine the best search results became an echo chamber, as there were strict demands on exactly what the right answers were in most cases, and straying from the expectations of Big G resulted in poor reviews and possible firing. Of course, we were not allowed to say the G word, we could only say the client. It's about to get worse too. They just laid off a huge swath of them. Some of you guys might already do this already, but if you want to find a solution to a problem you're having almost instantly, go on Google, type in the problem you're having, how do I fix X or Y or whatever, and then, no joke, put Reddit at the end of that search, and I promise you, you will find answers. I do this every time, whether it's like a problem with like, I don't know, my computer or like personal problems I'm having. I put Reddit at the end of it every time. I'll open up a Reddit forum that was made like, who knows, 5 years ago, and I will find the solution to the problem I'm having almost every single time. People who sell courses on how to make money make their own money selling you the course. This is huge in the mental health world. So many therapists selling courses to other therapists on how to make more money, since it can be hard to make money in our profession. Honestly, selling a course like that as a therapist is absolutely absurd. But yeah, it's true. I mean, nowadays I go on TikTok and all I see is a video of somebody saying, I will teach you how to get rich for $50 a month. Join my Discord. You can watch all my pre-recorded videos. Trust me, you will literally be at 10K a month in the next month. They always use 10K a month. That's like the golden number for a lot of these people that sell courses. And then they'll have a video and they'll be like, just bought this new Lamborghini through all my hard work. My business model's working great. What'd you say? Is that a green screen? Dude, this is not a... It's not a green screen. Just join my Discord. If you're nice to hotel staff, they are more likely to give you free. A good friend of mine, Korean, visited Las Vegas for her honeymoon. The husband was just a student at the time and she worked at a call center to pay their bills. When they were checking in at the hotel, the man at the front desk asked where they were from. She told them, "We are from Korea," and the man responded, "Oh, I love Korean food." They were a bit early to check in, so they left their bags and went out to get some food at a local Korean restaurant. When they came back, they brought some food for the front desk guy, and when they handed the food over, the guy was shocked and upgraded them to the penthouse. Little did my kind friends know, the guy was a manager and the penthouse was available. Friends sent me pics after they got in the room, and wow, Las Vegas penthouse is probably a room I will never be able to afford in my lifetime. All for a little Korean food. They got a memory they will never forget. Well, next time I go to a hotel, I am buying them a dinner and I'm gonna expect a penthouse. Worth a shot. On the Texas House floor, people push the buttons to vote for members who aren't even present that day. This happens multiple times on every single thing they vote for. The vids of this always reminded me of walking through a casino and seeing all the old people mindlessly pushing the buttons on multiple slot machines. You just see everybody like surrounded at their, in their chair, on their desk, and they're just beep, 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 who they want to vote for. China has stopped buying a lot of recycled plastic from the USA due to quality issues, and a lot of it just gets stored in warehouses as landfill. The industry is spending money out of the on PR to avoid this being public knowledge. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, there's plastic in like everything nowadays. Like, I'm honestly convinced 30% of my body is just made of plastic, which is why I always try to avoid drinking like bottled water now, especially if it's been in the sun, because you're drinking all plastic at that point. Or like microwaving my food in plastic containers, you want to avoid that. Yeah, I don't know, we're all gonna have cancer in like 20 years, so enjoy it now while you got no cancer. Data protection. Most companies misuse your personal data. Even the ones with a better grasp of the law and a data protection team are cutting lots of corners. I worked for a publicly traded mental health company that now has a class action lawsuit against them for selling protected health information to social media sites. It's one of very many different lawsuits and class action lawsuits against them. I'm wondering if that's the website BetterHelp. I don't think BetterHelp is publicly traded, but I'm pretty sure it's like online therapy, and I would not be surprised if they are selling health information. And I don't even know what health information you would sell, you know, like what my blood pressure is, you know, have fun with that, dude. You can have all my medical records. I don't even care, honestly. Most, probably 80% or more of the books on the nonfiction bestseller list, autobiographies, memoirs, political, business books, etc., are ghostwritten. Source, am ghostwriter. Okay, well, that's a pretty good source if he's a ghostwriter. Yeah, I'm not surprised by this. I feel like if you're a public figure, you could just pay somebody to write a book for you, throw your face on there, there you go. Now you just added a whole new stream of revenue for you, and you had to do nothing except pay somebody. Worked in online community management and social media for years. Admins can read all of your PMs. Private only means private from the masses, not from administration. We had to be able to read them to check reports of abuse, grooming, illegal activity, etc. I can't tell you how much cringeworthy shit I had to read through, especially from guys trying to hook up. Hopefully they didn't find mine. I mean, like just like me, like shooting my shot is what I'm trying to say. Anything you post online can and will be used against you to moderate and advertise or just plain sell. Whatever you're talking about in your DMs, you should probably tone it down a little bit. That's the advice I would give you. Just tone it down, dude. But if you're doing illegal stuff, I don't know, I hope you go to prison. If your baby goes to a nursery/daycare, chances are those weren't their first steps/words, etc. that you witnessed. Industry standard is to not tell parents when these things happen, as it makes them feel bad. I've seen kids up and walking about the room for weeks, even months, before their parents proudly announced at drop-off that they took their first steps last night. So if you think about it, a lot of parents are probably just being lied to. For, you know, rightfully so, I guess. I don't know. I would kind of like to know if my child took their first steps at like a daycare, you know? I don't want to be duped. This is almost like Santa Claus, but for adults, if you think about it. Because as a kid, you're told Santa Claus is real. And then eventually, somebody's like, dude, what are you talking about? Santa Claus is not real. I don't know what I'm saying. The reason why the kid fell off the Orlando freefall ride. Any ride with an over-the-shoulder restraint system works by using a proximity sensor to let the computer system know where the restraint is locked. The ride can't move unless all the sensors sense the correct metal at the correct position. On some rides, you can move the sensor a few millimeters for proper alignment, not enough to make a difference. On the freefall ride, someone in management might have wanted to modify a few seats for larger guests. Someone might have told a maintenance worker to move the sensor, which allowed the ride to start with the restraint in a position not in the original design. With this modification, the restraint would be at more of a 45 or so degree angle instead of directly downward. This may or may not have been done with an engineer's approval. Any procedure like this is strictly prohibited from any standpoint in the amusement rides industry. I can't explain why they thought it was okay. In most situations, you wouldn't be able to move the sensor much without detaching the bracket and moving the whole thing to a different location. Again, this wouldn't even be discussed anywhere I have ever worked, but they might have at Icon Park. The details of this mechanical procedure never made the headlines in Florida because all the lawsuits were settled. In the end, someone decided to change the position of that sensor. We will probably never know who. There's probably a maintenance worker who was ordered to do so. I've worked on enough restraints to know that it was not an accident. Personally, I would have refused to do it, and so would almost everyone that works on these things. I'm gonna be honest, completely zoned out reading that entire thing, so I didn't really absorb much of it, but it sounds like, from what I did absorb, somebody told a maintenance guy, hey, let's move this sensor, you know, whatever, we gotta get bigger people on this ride. They do it, some kid gets in the wrong seat, and then he falls off. You know, rest in peace, and well, we just shouldn't change the sensors at all, if anything. If you find an extra nugget in your order, it wasn't a mistake. You got a cool employee. At the local place nearby, an extra handful of fries in the bottom of the bag, or an onion ring or cheese curd added to your fries is policy rather than mistake. Looking generous with the sides gives them repeat business. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great business model. Just throw in a couple extra pieces here and there. It's not going to cost you that much more, and if people keep coming back for more because they know they're going to get extra, there you go, you're making big bucks. Some appetizers are the most labor-intense items on the menu to make. For example, dumplings take one worker about an hour to make 12 to 15 orders. If you want to know where I'm getting at, if a restaurant offers a plethora of appetizer options, then there's a high chance a lot of them are store-bought and resold because there's no feasible way to prepare several orders for each item on the menu. On the other hand, at my dinky little Chinese delivery spot that is seemingly no different from all of the others, I went in one day to see a giant pile of dumpling meat and 3 women dutifully filling the wrappers. Yeah, dude, that's because they got it. They got it like that. They're literally him, or they're literally hers. I can imagine, like over there at that Chinese delivery spot, they are like quick. Like they've probably been doing it for years and they know the method, and so they get it done in the snap of a finger. But then you go to a restaurant like where I used to work and you got me working there, brother. I'm not doing a good job, dude. I work in education. We are way behind the ball with student issues and are just flying by the seat of our pants, so to speak. We are in crisis, and most parents simply want to drop their kids off and hope they have a normal experience. None of this is normal. You need to start having conversations with your kids about mental health and social media. If not, oof, our society is not in good shape. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is gonna be a huge problem in like 20, 30 years. We're gonna see those kids that are watching TikTok at like the age of 3 grow up and honestly struggle with a lot of things. I think we're starting to see people just like completely incapable of doing anything for themselves. And I think a lot of parents avoid having conversations with their kids like this because they just are too tired and they don't have the time, or they're just lazy and they give their phone to their kid and they say, you know, watch Mr. Beast, and I pray to God that you end up a decent person. Here you go, Jimmy. Now you can see a $1 hotel versus a $1 billion hotel. Good luck. Like, what the? I saw how slot machines for casinos were designed. Don't play slots. I only played slots in Vegas for 5 minutes so I could order free booze. As soon as I ordered, I quit playing. Thanks for the whiskey. A group of friends and I had gone to a casino. One of my friends had heard that when you're on the floor gambling, your drinks are free, so he ordered a round of expensive drinks for everyone. When the barmaid came back, he was shocked that he had an $80 bar bill. Yeah, I think there's like very specific cases. Like I'm sure if you're spending hundreds of dollars, they'll like give you a free beer or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know. But if you're like there to just play for a second, or you're ordering like really expensive drinks, chances are you're probably gonna have to pay for them. I've worked in politics. There are a lot of people who write to a politician like they're a celebrity. They receive love letters and all kinds of weird stuff. There's also quite a sizable part of their mail that is comprised of people asking for a photo with an autograph. Way more than you think. Some because they're admirers, others because they collect them, and then some other cases you don't really want to know about. I've worked for a female politician. Trust me, you don't want to know. The dirty little secret within the secret is that the politicians I knew didn't sign anything. They had a machine that did all the signing for them, so technically the autographs were not even real. Yeah, if you ever catch me writing a letter to a politician, just put me down, bro. Just put me down. I mean, I don't know one good politician. I'm not writing a letter to any of them, dude. If I'm gonna write a letter to anybody, it's gonna be Ryan Gosling. I stand by that. The news about Boeing is not a surprise to me at all. The amount of resources that they are able to delegate in an effort to deter whistleblowers is unfathomable to the average American, European citizen. Literally didn't even bolt the panel back in. It takes an impressive amount of incompetence to let something like that slip by. It takes laying off thousands of quality control inspectors, which the union has suggested might be a good policy to reverse right about now. This is what happens when a company gets ran by MBAs instead of engineers. I say this as somebody who has an MBA myself. I mean, if you're laying off quality control inspectors, you're just asking, no, you're not asking, you're just telling everybody that you really don't give a shit about your planes. You're just here to make money, and they were clearly costing you money. So bye-bye. And hopefully the plane doesn't go down. And I'm actually flying somewhere in March, and let's hope I make it. When you eat at a Waffle House and want chili, ask your waitress if it is any good before you order. Sometimes it has been sitting way too long. The waitresses never seem to give a shit about telling you the truth. Years ago, late at night, partner and I stopped at a Waffle House, his favorite place to eat. I saw Bert's salad on the menu, which was described as a salad with chili on it. How about this Bert's salad? I said to the waitress, who looked like she had been working there all of her long life. "You don't want that," she answered flatly. I thanked her, and I didn't get it. Hey, at least she was honest, you know? You don't want that. I would love if somebody told me that. Okay, perfect. Get something else. I'm a casino manager. It is definitely possible, more likely than you think, to win money in the short term. For example, if you walk in, bet on red/black on roulette, it's reasonably close to 50-50, not quite because of zero. You might do this once, double your money and leave. Congratulations. You will always lose in the long term, always. Anyone that thinks they have some kind of system is a sucker. A game would not make it into the casino floor if the maths have not been rigorously checked and long-term simulations run to confirm. Exception to this is poker. The casino will always have a rake or time charge to make their money, but there is no reason you cannot consistently win money if you are skilled enough. As an ex-poker pro, the way I described it was, yes, the house always wins, but in poker, I'm not playing the house, I'm playing the other people at my table. We're all just paying the house a few to use their table, their dealer, their chips, their security, and their floor space. If I can take enough from other people at the table to cover that, I make money. That being said, it's very easy to underestimate how much better than the other players you have to be to actually make money at a low stakes game, where the rake is usually massive in comparison to pot sizes. I'd also add blackjack to the list in your shoes if I'm being fully honest. Depending on the rules and how cards are shuffled at your particular casino, in my gambling days, the few card counters I knew who were actually good at it made serious bank. That's actually really interesting. One time I watched a YouTube video on how to count cards, and for a little while, I had it down pat a little bit. Like, I think you look at the card face and then you'll count like one. Actually, I don't remember how to do it, but I knew at the time. So, I mean, if you can get really good at counting cards, you could low-key make a ton of money. Train artist here. Most oil paints are made with very toxic substances, as are most paint thinners and mediums. Every single one of my teachers was either very sick, cancer, I don't know how to say that, or a bit crazy, eating chalk, licking pallets. All incredible artists I was privileged to learn from. One lesson I learned very well: I wear gloves and sometimes a mask when I paint. Please don't eat chalk though. I used to lick tape when I was a kid, and I don't regret it because it tasted good at the time, but don't do that stuff. I just don't. I'm just a bit slow, and that's why I did it. I wrote an original movie a few years ago. Totally original, totally my idea. When it finally aired on TV, it said, based on a true story. Also, it wasn't Fargo. Based on the true story of some writer writing this movie. Well everyone, that was the end of today's Reading You Reddit. I hope you all enjoyed some industry secrets. If you did, please like the video and subscribe if you do not mind. If you don't want to, I'm not gonna pressure you, but if you want to, I'd be more than happy to receive a sub from you. From Jersey Mike's. Okay, that was corny. I'll see you next time. Bye.